everybody. This is your host, Huge Pop, on my birthday today, the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. We have a special guest today. He's been a pro wrestler for 18 years. He's a half of the first ever SICW tag champs in 46 years, called The Professionals. He's a lover of whiskey, a reader of books, a dad, and a proud Irish heritage. Welcome to the show, Mauler McDarby.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for celebrating my birthday. And before we go any further, it's huge.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
It's my birthday, Marler. What's going on?
Hey, another day in paradise. Celebrating early for you right here. So
there you go. Yes, thank you so much, man. So I ask everybody when they come on my show, because that's interesting, because I had a great, it was hard for me to watch professional wrestling when I was a kid because I grew up when there was Saturday Night's Main Event, then the big pay-per-views. They were on all my friends had the big dishes, and they got all the satellite signals, blah, blah, blah. And I had to hear about it afterwards. So as a kid growing up and as a fan, can you tell us what your life as a fan was?
Sure. I don't know, the after the fact finding out about it, I can relate to. I actually grew up with very humble beginnings. My parents were people of very honest means. So there was no, watching pay-per-views. There was no, going to many live events or anything like that, house shows. So I always watched it on TV, and I always watched it with, start off with my dad. My dad's a huge Ric Flair fan. My dad was, because my dad works out, lifts weights and all that stuff. And, the whole persona of Ric Flair, the limousine riding, jet flying, wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing son of a gun. Woo! My dad bought into that whole thing, just loved it. Obviously being from St. Louis the city is rich in wrestling history. So, it came from watching wrestling with my dad. And then also, when I started school, the first friend I made at school in kindergarten, Paul Greco, he was a Hulkamaniac. So he turned me into more, we obviously we were more NWA, WCW house, little, WWF, if it was on, we'd watch it. But I started watching it more because my friends were watching it.
Okay.
And my first pay-per-view that I saw, I got invited over to my neighbor's house, and it was the Royal Rumble, where the main event was the Undertaker versus Yokozuna in that casket match.
Yes.
So that was my first forte into seeing a pay-per-view live when it happened.
That's awesome, man. So who are your heroes growing up? I know you said your dad was Ric Flair, but who are your heroes growing up?
I gravitated towards Roddy Piper. He was a big influence for me. I loved Piper. If I go on the other side of the aisle, back to the NWA, WCW stuff, I liked, there was the Midnight Express, obviously, Rock and Roll Express. You had the Horsemen, you had the Andersons, Magnum TA, all those guys. I remember even when I was a kid, I remember when Razor Ramon made his debut. I was a big Scott Hall fan.
Yeah.
I know I just named a litany of heels, but there was a lot of great wrestling and a lot of great wrestlers, but somebody who really captured me was Piper.
Okay.
And also Mick Foley too. I gravitated towards Mick.
Now, do you model your craft and ring style today after Roddy Piper, after Mick Foley, etc.?
If you steal from one, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it's research. So
there you go.
So that's right. So I borrow from a lot, but I have borrowed. I don't do. People always get thrown off by this. How do I like Mick Foley, but I'm not into hardcore wrestling? It's not my taste. It's not my flavor. But the way he crafted like into how he told stories, how he got there. Like a great one to watch is the street fight between him and Triple H at the Royal Rumble in 2000 in Madison Square Garden. For something that wasn't supposed to happen, they had to kind of pull a rabbit out of their hat. That was a pretty hot match if you go back and watch it. And there's a story there. It's just not all carnage and blood and guts.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Royal Rumble, and I know we're talking about you. So do you watch the current promotions now?
I have a almost 4-year-old running around the house, so my TV watching is limited. However, if somebody says, "Hey, there's a really good match between so and so," I'll go out of my way to watch it. I just and look, and this is shame on me for not keeping up with my my peers and and people that are on television, the modern stuff, the current stuff. That's kind of shame on me, but at the same time, I watch a lot of the old stuff because it's easy to watch something and then it goes in here and it becomes I don't want to say like it's almost like cerebral. It's like it's gone into the memory, and then you can accidentally steal from something you didn't mean to steal from. So I try to keep away from the current stuff and keep more of an eye on the old stuff because I'm a huge fan of technical wrestling and some brawling aspect of it and stuff. So.
Gotcha. So back in the WCW days, so I got to ask this question.
Mm-hmm.
You probably get it wrong, but that's okay. Who is the greatest WCW champion of all time?
Now, is this the WCW Turner champion or the NWA?
Turner.
Turner, the greatest Turner.
You're gonna get pissed. So I might as well just give you the answer.
Okay, go ahead.
David Arquette.
Yeah, I disagree, but it's up for debate. It's an opinion.
It's an opinion. I mean, I have to throw that in there. This podcast generated through getting 1,000 viewers on TikTok, and then the TikTok story was who was the greatest WCW champion ever. So we have to throw that in there. I recently stepped away from TikTok because it's becoming flooded with, I don't know. It's just been crazy. It's been ridiculous with people's attitudes towards each other. If I have an opinion on Mauler McDarby, and it's my opinion, I get ridiculed because it's not their opinion. So I got to step away from that.
So yeah, social media is very difficult. I find myself engaging or spending time on social media less and less. The only reason why I even have probably anything to do with it right now is for 2 reasons. One is promoting my my wrestling stuff and the dates and everything, and the other thing is I can connect with my family to share pictures of like my kid and my cousin's kids and stuff. Outside of that, I totally get where you're coming from. We're kind of moved beyond. Everybody can have a different opinion. It doesn't mean anybody's wrong or anybody's right. We just all, we coexist with these different opinions.
Right. And I think that's what's ruined wrestling for today's society. Because back in the day when we're talking about the Mick Foley's, the Harley Races, the Briscoes, the Von Erichs, there was no dirt sheets. There was no internet. There was just pure wrestling, right? And you had to wait. I remember having to wait 2 or 3 weeks to watch a Saturday night's main event because they weren't on every Saturday. And you didn't have the Dave Meltzers or the dirt sheets saying, "Oh, here's what's going to happen." It was exciting. It's now, that's why I think today's sports missing is there's storytelling they're missing, and it's just flooded with dirt sheets, and it makes it no fun for people.
To your point, and you mentioned a lot of one of the greatest names, Harley Race. But to the point you were making, I don't understand people seeking out spoilers. I don't understand people like wanting to know who like as an example right now, since we've touched on the Royal Rumble a couple of times now, and it's coming up.
Yeah.
don't understand why people are trying to find out who a mystery entrant would be or who the slated, who's going to win the Royal Rumble. I don't understand, or going and seeing the results before you watch the show.
Right.
I don't understand that. Like, I want to watch it. I want to be taken on a journey. I want to be taken on that ride. I want to, escape reality. I want to sit there. It's just like turning on a football game or let me hold on. It's like turning on any sort of sports game, professional sports.
Right.
If you know your team's going to lose, how apt are you going to be to watch that game?
No, we're not.
Right. You want to be there for the highs and lows for the game. Like, the other thing, if you don't mind me segueing off on this, something that's also missing to me in pro wrestling, especially on television, are rules. Where are the rules? It's UFC, boxing, sports, anything has rules. I don't care if it's a simulated combat or not. I don't care if people think it's real or fake or whatever. That part doesn't really matter. What if it's for entertainment purposes, we don't need to. Like, I don't understand why everybody's got to keep pulling back the curtain. Why do I need to insult you with that? Right. Just let me tell you a story. Let me take you on a ride. Give me rules. Give me something to, if I choose to break it, I can and tell a story that way. I just don't. I'm with you. I don't understand that kind of, and it's fine. I'm not knocking anybody. If that's how you enjoy your wrestling, that's fine. But for me, I don't understand it.
Right, and I think that's why I gravitate towards most indie wrestling instead of WWE, AEW, because the experience I had with indie wrestling was exactly what you said. There's rules and you break them, but you break them for a purpose, and it tells the story, and then it leaves you wanting to come back next month to their next show.
Right.
And then you don't hear anything about it. You get advertisements, you get advertisements and promos, and that's all you get. And that's what makes you, oh my God, I'm going to go to this next show because I want to see what Damian Wayne's going to do to Vordell Walker next, or Jackson Slade's going to do to Adrian Whisper next. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's these guys that you fell in love with because you're part of their family now, and now you have to wait. And now you don't see any media. And I'm like, yeah, I want to go. That's how I just.
Yeah, you personally invested in that wrestler, that person.
Yeah.
You put in the time, you've shown up. That again, to your point, I'll try to be quick and succinct with this. Think about, if people stop and think what it takes for the average Joe to get to a local pro wrestling show. You're asking people on one of their 2 days off to leave their house, come out to a building, wait in a line, buy a ticket, sit in a chair that makes your ass hurt, and pay for overpriced food and beer. That's a tall order to ask people to come out to an event. So when they come out, you have to put your best foot forward, and you have to put on the best wrestling match for it. And sorry about that. You have to emotionally get these people emotionally invested. They've taken the time to invest in you, and you have to kind of repay that and do your best that you can do.
Right. Absolutely. So at what age did you say, man, Dad, Mom, I'm doing it, I'm going to be a wrestler?
I trained secretly for 5 months. Started February 1st of 2006, I think. And I two people knew. My best friend, he knew, and then my girlfriend at the time, she knew.
Okay.
So I was when I thought this might be something I want to do, when I got the bug, where I was like, oh, when the Cactus Jack Triple H stuff, because at that point we had cable, and Raw was only 2 hours. We didn't get SmackDown. so watching that, I saw that, and then my friend who taped all the pay-per-views, he brought me the tape the next day. That's right, kids. I said, tape. Brought a VHS tape to me and said, you have to see this. So I took it home and I fast forwarded to the main event, and I put that in. And after I watched that match, I in my head I go, that would be really cool to be able to do something on that level. And so that's when I kind of the real love fell in. But when I got bit by the bug, where I actually went after it, I was about 2021 when I went after it.
So you were trained by Truth Martini? Is that right? No.
No, that's my tag partner, Sean Santel. He went up to Detroit, was trained by Truth Martini. Okay. I was trained by two people. One was Johnny Courageous. He was a local pro wrestler here. He taught me the bumps, the mechanics, all the slams and the holds and stuff. And then gorgeous Night Train Gary Jackson, he came in behind him and he helped polish me up. He taught me how to protect myself. He taught me how, in the sense of, okay, if they do this, you need to do this, or, here's a technique and here's this, try that, do this, do that. Those are the two guys that really had their hands on it in my training. Both fantastic guys, both fantastic wrestlers. I can't say enough good things about those two. And eventually, it took a long time, but years later, finally, I got to cross paths with Gary Jackson. He became my rival, or one of my rivals.
Nice, yeah, nice, great guy. He was on a podcast about 3 months ago, I think. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, did he tell you the story how he got the name Night Train?
Did he? I slept since then, man. Go ahead.
He was at home. He got a phone call from Larry Matisak. He said, hey, he's like, Brody wants to talk to you. You got to say, yeah, sure. Bruiser Brody got on the phone, and I'm abbreviating this, but Bruiser Brody goes, I was driving with Larry and thinking, he goes, you should use the nickname Night Train. He stopped off just to call up Gary, just to give him that idea.
Yeah, okay, I do remember something like that, yeah.
And that's cool, ain't it?
That is awesome, man. And cool story about, you mentioned Bruiser Brody, and I just think I'm honored. Herb Simmons texted me and had me call him up, and I called him up, and he's like, how would you like to interview Barbara Goodish? He goes, you know who Barbara Goodish is, right?
Heck yeah.
I go, yeah. He goes, how would you like to do that? I'm like, yeah.
That's awesome.
So January 24th or 25th, we're going to be on here with Herb and Barbara Goodish are going to be on a Huge Pop Wrestling podcast. So that'll be one for the days, one for ages, man.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Congratulations on that, Get.
Thanks. I can't. You get so giddy. I mean, I'm excited because it's like, whoa, So yeah. So you had a solid promo, man, that you sent to me. Pretty epic, pretty good. Who taught you how to do those kind of promos? Was that in the training school too?
No. They literally, this was back when I first got in. They didn't just have a camera set up to do promos and tape promos or whatever. Now everything, your whole studio here is on your phone. Yeah. And you can do a setup in your house and everything. Back when I got it, if you didn't have a video camera, there's no way to really do promos unless somebody asked you to. One day they had a guy show up with a camera and they said, all right, you got, and there's only a couple of new people. Said, you're going to do promos. They stuck me in front of a camera. They said, start talking. They gave me they said, you're going to have a match against so-and-so. Talk about it. And the first time I did it, I was just meandering. And they were like, and they let me get all the way through it. And I knew it was terrible. I knew it was. And after they stopped, they said, okay, hold on. And they said, okay, do this, this, and this. Gave me some pointers. Put me back up there. Take two. That's all I needed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm the best or I'm perfect or, I hit it every time or I nail it every time. I just I have a fascination and love for language and words and reading and stuff like that. So, the written word's very important to me. I had something to say. I just didn't know I had something to say, but I didn't know that I had, I wanted to or whatever until they put me in front of a camera.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I got some happy birthday wishes. My dad's on the podcast watching. Happy birthday. Thank you, Dad. Well, then I have Jason Simmons. Happy birthday. Thank you, Jason, man. Appreciate you guys coming on the show. So do you remember your first match? How'd that feel? What was it like?
Oh yeah, I remember my first match. I would train for, like I said, I trained for 5 months. 2 weeks before the show, they needed a body. They said, "Get your Missouri state license. You're booked against this person," and I thought it was a rib. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, right. And they said, "No, you need to be ready in 2 weeks." And I finally was like, "Come on, quit ribbing me." And they look at me, they go, "No, we're serious. You better be ready in 2 weeks to wrestle. You're out of here," sort of thing. So I hurry up and rushed everything to get all my stuff together. I at the time I came up with a different gimmick, and because I didn't know how bad I was going to be, and I went out there and had a 10-minute match, and the vet told me the spots that we were going to do, and then when we got out there, we're working around, and he goes, "All right, kid," he goes, "What are we supposed to do next?" And it was a good test. He was testing me. It was a good test. I spit back the spot, said, "All right, let's do it, kid. Just follow my lead." And we filled in the blanks and stuff like that. It wasn't the greatest match, but I did a lot. After that match, I'll put it this way: I might not have been the greatest match, but it was good enough that after that, I've never not been booked on a card since.
So was that Dogtown Underground?
No. That was way long time ago.
All right. So Jason Simmons brings up Dogtown Underground. So can we talk about Dogtown Underground?
Oh yeah. The Dogtown Underground. That's me, my tag partner, one half of the professional, Sean Santel, the big man Kowalski, and then we had our boss, Lucky P. Larson. Let me take that back. Lucky P. Larson, Esquire, manager to the Stars. And the 4 of us were together as the Dogtown Underground. And we ruled the Dogtown neighborhood like we rule SICW with an iron fist. It's the golden rule. We had all the gold, so we made the rules.
There you go. So you guys rule the SICW then, or?
We were together for a while. My partner got injured, then I got injured and had to take some time off. So, but doesn't mean it's not gone. It's just on hold right now.
Awesome. So now, can we talk about some career highlights? Like, what do you consider your highlight of the biggest thing you've ever done that stands out?
I'll give you a few. First one comes to mind is selling out the Belle Claire Fairgrounds for SICW's big event where we wrestled the Rock and Roll Express. That was a big, huge thing for my tag partner and I. Another one was when Kowalski and I tagged together against Cowboy Bob Orton Jr., the ace, versus his prodigy and student at the time, Brandon Beretta. I actually broke Brandon's wrist, and he had to get a cast put on. And since he felt like he was outnumbered, he decided to ask his mentor for some help. So him and Bob, trying to play mind games, came to the ring, both wearing casts on their wrist. And I told Brandon, when we were arguing back and forth, if you think you're going to get in my head and play mind games with me, it isn't going to work. Actually, I came out that night in a kilt and a Panther T-shirt.
Nice.
So, I broke his wrist, and he leveled me right between the eyes with a cast. So I guess we're even for now until I decide to get some payback for that.
Yep, Brandon Beretta, what a character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Him and yeah. So so like I mean, you guys bump elbows with legends in the SICW. I mean,
Mhm.
I hear about everything. So when I say that, you got legends that'll be in the back, in the locker room, all around. In your opinion, I know there's other wrestlers that have difference of opinions, but in your opinion, is it important for you to take that time and just listen to what they have to say to help
Yes,
you get into better into business?
yes, 100%. It is invaluable for me to sit there and get feedback from guys like Kevin Sullivan, to get feedback from guys like Chavo Guerrero Jr. There's been so many guys just talking to picking brains, like talking to Killer Tim Brooks, Ronnie Garvin, talking to Wildfire Tommy Rich. The list of just legends that come through, and to ask, hey, can you watch my match, or do you have any feedback? Abdul the Butcher had a lot of, was really good with giving knowledge. To me, it's very important. Bob Orton Jr., picking his brain, getting his feedback. That stuff's important because those are all guys that knew how to draw money, that knew what it took to be on top, to make it to the big time. And if you, one of the best pieces of advice that I can give, not just new wrestlers, but any wrestler, is know your history. Know where the business has been and where it went and where it's at, and talk to the people that are still alive that helped put it there and build it and keep it together like that. You can learn a lot, and it'll give you an extra tool in your toolbox and teach you something.
Okay. So who do you enjoy working with in the ring the most? And is there anybody in there that you don't care to wrestle ever, ever again?
Uh, uh, I'm going to, as anybody that I would refuse to wrestle. I'll start with that one because it's gonna be a lame answer. As I really don't have heat with too many people. I don't hold any grudges. It's business. If we can't go out there like two professionals, no pun intended, and no, not Big Tex and Jason. He took my head off with a lariat, but the next day I knocked his jaw out of place with the right hand. So we're even on that deal. I really don't have anybody that I would never work again. And if I did, I'm not the kind of guy to name names, but who I enjoy working, or who I like being in the ring with, or who I think my best opponents are.
Yeah.
Um, Gary Jackson and Gil Rogers. That's another top moment for me, is when you ask me accomplishments in the almost 50-year history of SICW, becoming the first ever tag team champs. That's really top on the list for me too. So segue into this, we wound up in a program against Gil Rogers and Gary Jackson. Um, and we may not see eye to eye, but we can at least respect them as opponents.
Right.
That's one of those things, as Dusty Rhodes said to Ole Anderson, this will never be over. As far as Sean and I are concerned, when it comes to the SIC tag titles and them, in our opinion, stealing them from us, it'll never be over. I can't. Those two guys, those are the two that I can't say enough about the level of just professional respect. We may not agree on everything, but I have respect for the opponent. But that's one. Uh, Brandon Beretta, before he was teamed with Joe, before they were the Top Guns or whatever I think I said. I really don't care, but Top Guns. When Brandon, he was a pretty good opponent. I really took it to him in a singles capacity. Billy McNeil, I put the leather to Billy McNeil a lot, and the one word that comes to mind with him is resilience. That dude is an energizer bunny. I don't care how hard I hit him or how many times I knocked him down. Couldn't underestimate him. He got back up.
Who has the hardest chop in the SICW?
Now that I'll give to Texan. Big Texan's he's got a pretty tough chop. Bobby D, he's got a pretty tough. He's got a good chop. He puts it in there. Steve Fender, he can if he needs to. He knows how to lay it in. Those are the ones the top three that come to mind.
Okay. Who's your closest friend in the business, and do you still stay in touch with them?
My tag partner, Sean Santel. He's one of my best friends, and definitely my best friend in the business. They're the reason why we're tag partners is because we're friends. We met in wrestling. We stayed in touch all this time. He was one of the first wrestling friends I made. Technically one of the first few wrestling friends I made. And him and we've been through it together. Always friends. We were always singles and stuff like that. He did a couple of tags, but I never had a tag team really. Except I had one other tag team, Mad Dog Mark McDowell, up in 3XW. He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine. But Sean, that's the thing I can't stress enough. Like, I know where my tag partner's at. That's my boy standing back there. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about the match. I don't have to worry about anything that's going on. I know my back's covered because he's standing right there behind me. I know you can't see me. It's visual, but if I reach behind me, put my hand out, I know the tag's going to be made. I know I can trust him. I know we're thinking the same level. I know, we lived together at one point. We worked out together. We hung out all the time, and we wrestled together. I spent more time with him on the road and being with him, and we've never had a crossword. We have never had a disagreement. We have never quarreled. None of that stuff. Him and I, that is, even though I do have a brother, he is he's a brother to me. He's like an older brother to me. That's probably my closest friend in wrestling. I have other friends, but my closest is Sean Santel.
Not that I'd like to stir the pot at all, but I just have a question. The Rock and Roll Express, NWO, you have Moxley and Seth and Roman Reigns. You have all these tag team partners that were best friends. But at one point in time, someone backstabs somebody. You don't fear that at all. You don't see that at all in the future. You're not concerned about that.
I 1,000% I can guarantee you that will never ever happen, because divided we fall, together we conquer. We make more money together than we do apart, and we have a common goal. Okay. I never, and he never has that worry ever.
Okay. Hey, I just had to ask that question. You see it in wrestling all the time, and you're pretty confident, so I'll let you be that way. That's cool. So we talked about some of the advice that you'd give people, but what is that one big key lesson you learned while coming through the business?
A few things. Advice that I can get that I received is you converse with somebody, don't confront. I was given the advice of if you feel like you had a really bad match, Attila Khan, he pulled me aside and I told him, I said, I just feel like that was awful. And he goes, did you go out there and do that on purpose? And I said, no. He goes, did you try your best? I said, I did everything I could. He goes, then that's all, anybody can ask. He goes, that's wrestling. He goes, tomorrow's a new day. It's another, next one down the road. Larry Matisak. Larry, if you felt like you stunk out the joint and you said something to Larry, Larry'd look at you and go, "Hey, kid, that's wrestling. You know, there's always tomorrow."
Yeah.
So that's that, and those are the two things I'll stick with right now. So that way I don't bore people.
That's all right. So how do you feel when the public don't really understand the risks and dangers of the job that you guys do, and you hear it's fake?
The it's fake thing, and people trying to get under your skin about stuff, or coming at you. The best way that I can handle it, is, you think it's fake, that's fine, I understand, but it's not. I have the injuries, and I got the pain to prove it. And I if you want, I can kind of show you, if it's fake, or if you feel it's fake, I can hit you with a strike or something. You can tell me if it feels fake to you. I try not to get. I feel like if you get now, it's like people do it on purpose, and then if I get mad and they get, it's like they want to get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of handle it. Is it's a difference of opinion, and also I'm not going to argue with a fool.
Right. A few more things that we're gonna get into, like the SICW stuff, so can you talk to us about brotherhood and paying it back, paying your dues?
So brotherhood and paying your dues. The brotherhood part, I put the aspect of the locker room is a very sacred place. Only the wrestlers or the staff of the show should be in the locker room. We're all doing this together. To kind of peel back the onion a little bit. Let's say, and I'm just going to use, just a number. Let's say there's 5 matches on a card. Okay. Matches 1 through 5. When you start at the beginning, each match is it's going to tell its own story, but each match, as you go on, the first match, second match, it's building the card. We're building to the main event, the guys that are on top, the guys that are making the money and drawing the house. So we all have to work together as a common goal and build up to that main event. Knowing what your place is on the card, and knowing what's expected of you and doing your best. When the promoter and the booker, when they give you an assignment or a job to do, you do your best to the ability of fulfilling that job and that role, so to speak, for the betterment of the promotion, for the company, and also for the fans. I think a lot of times the fans get forgotten in this. And again, I'm not trying to get on a soapbox. It's just an opinion, but to a point, it feels like the fans are almost forgotten, or they're like secondary. We're there because of the fans. And when you're there, like a lot of people are worried about moves or these high spots or coming off, doing these big moves and stuff like that. None of that matters. Make sure these people feel like that they have gotten their money's worth. Go out there and tell a story, wrestle, apply your craft, work holds, show these people what you can do, and build to the next thing. Each time each match is going up, and the time as you go up the card gets a little longer. So that's what the brotherhood means to me, and protecting each other and looking out for each other. When you're going out there with your opponent, you want them to, you're going out there and you're telling them you're going to come back. The way you went out is the way you're going to come back. So that's all the brotherhood part. And the second part of your question, I'm sorry, I meandered and I lost it.
Paying it back.
Paying it back. you remember the people who treated you good or great, but you never forget the people who treated you badly. So the things that you learned when you didn't know, when you thought you knew something and you didn't know anything, and you learned all these little tips and tricks and got in the ring and worked with somebody, learned all this stuff. Paying it back to me is when I see new people, like I try to sit there and I watch all the matches with the new people. I always try to say, pull them aside, say, hey, look, you did really good. I like the match. I like the story you told. There's this and this. You might want to tighten that up, or it was okay. But in the future, when you did this and this, but it'd be, if you tried this and this, it might work out better for you. It's guiding them and leading them, making them better than what you are, and having them at a younger age taking that knowledge and moving forward with it. Okay. And I think that's important, is sharing and the knowledge and the wealth and all that stuff.
Okay, absolutely. I do care for foster kids, and so we sit around a table for dinner, and they know what I do, so they have some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Favorite food?
Boy, I am a fat kid. You know what? Cheeseburger and fries.
Would you put pineapple on pizza?
I would rather light my own house on fire.
Okay. Favorite book?
Ooh. Okay, so as a kid, anything Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
As an adult, because I'm a Sherlock Holmes fan, I'll get some newer one to read. The Barker and Llewellyn series. The first book's called Some Danger Involved. Okay. Check that out. That's a great book. It's clean. It's like a Sherlock mystery, but it's the author's still alive. So yeah.
Okay. Favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? I don't get to watch much TV. We'll say Reacher right now. I like watching Reacher right now. That's what I'm watching right now. Is Reacher.
A couple that I got yesterday was, what do you do when you first get out of bed?
Put my feet on the floor and make sure my knees can handle the weight of me getting up.
What's your favorite potato chip?
Jay's Original Kettle Cooked Chips and Coconut Oil.
Okay. Are you a sports fan?
I am.
What's your favorite sports team?
St. Louis Cardinals, baby, and second is the Green Bay Packers.
I'm sorry. I will root for the Green Bay Packers until they beat the San Francisco 49ers. Then you and I will have problems, because my Detroit Lions are getting to the Super Bowl, and they're going to beat the Packers for the second time this year. So.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with riding a dead horse into his funeral, so that's okay.
All right, that's all right then. So, and the last one is, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers?
No particular order. Harley Race, Roddy. We need 4, right?
Yep.
Harley Race, Roddy Piper, Mick Foley, and let's see, Luthez. How about that? There we go.
All right, I'm going to read down some compliments you've gotten from. First of all, Jason Simmons says, okay, we got Steven Espinoza in the house. He says, hello, gentlemen. And then we have Jason saying, hey, Steven, how you doing, man? So thank you guys for being in the chat. So I researched, I did some digging. I asked some of your friends. I asked some of your probably enemies in SICW. And some of the stuff is, you've already mentioned, this guy mentioned, loved old school wrestling. Great promotion to be part of if you love old school. He says that you love, you're a historian, you know your stuff, and they can tell by just the way you're talking. I know that you know your stuff. How do you feel to get tagged as the guy of that kind of guy, the historian? Does that make you feel good?
It makes me feel really good to get that respect from my peers is very humbling. So yes, that's very appreciative.
Okay. And here's one from Herb Simmons. Ask him how he was crowned, how it was to be crowned the first SICW tag team in history of SICW.
This is my answer never changes, so I apologize if I sound like a broken record right now. I will legitimately go to my grave crowing how me and myself, Sean, proper English, Sean and I were the first ever in 50 years history of a promotion. We're the first ever tag team champions.
Yeah.
I will, as long as I live to my dying day, I will never, ever forget that. That is something out of my wrestling career. That is something I will never forget, and that is something that is at the top of my list, like of my accomplishments. I've got to do and experience some really cool things, but being the first ever SICW tag team champions, and people, if you think about it, 50 years, that's a huge number. That means that promotion has been around longer than me. Out of 50 years, when they finally decide to pull a trigger and do something, Sean Santel and myself are the guys that do it. That's the biggest, am I wrong? That's a big brag, right?
No, you're right. You're right. No, that's a big brag. Why wouldn't you brag? I mean,
if nothing else happens, if nothing else happens, I don't care. I have that also, not just the first ever SICW tag team champions. We are the first ever 2-time SICW tag team champions. So, that's huge to me. Love it. That's one of my big accomplishments.
Why is that? Why? So what? I wanted to ask you. This came from Herb. Why is SICW stands out? Why do they stand out? What makes them stand out in the wrestling business? What do they do above bar none?
First, so Herb is not going to like this as the first answer, but leadership is key. The buck has to stop somewhere, and I'm sorry if I'm being too loud, so I apologize. The buck has to stop somewhere, and it stops with Herb Simmons. That's very important. Not only a history, but I'm searching for the right word here, but the reputation of 50 years, caring about the fans, and also a great roster. Herb always says, to make a cake, you have to have all the right ingredients. And that's true. But the level of leadership, talent, and then the promotion of it, and the fact that they bring in, Herb Simmons sits on the table is Gary. Yeah, that's right. He's right. Yeah, that's right, Jason. It's a group effort, but it starts with leadership and pushing it in the right direction, and also it takes talent, and those are all things. Everywhere we've wrestled, I've enjoyed the experience. I loved it, but when it comes to promotion stuff, like everybody, just like territories, different places have different styles. The fact that SICW keeps it at the basics, it's pro wrestling. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. It's pro wrestling, and that's what anybody wants is. That's a good point, Jason. I don't want to say that, but what Jason Simmons just said about the best talent in the country, I'm not going to argue it. He makes a good point, but it's pro wrestling at the end of the day. It's SICW is the closest you're gonna get to territory pro wrestling, and that's what makes it work.
Well, I fell in love with SICW was their old school feel to it. You know, when I've seen the announcer outside the ring interviewing their talent, it brought me back to the day of Jesse Ventura, Gorilla Monsoon standing outside the ring and interviewing the wrestlers and after the match, and that old school feel was just epic to me. And so I'm like, oh my god, I gotta talk to these guys.
To that point, real quick, that is a lost art. Is the interview, whether it's at ringside or it's at the podium, having an announcer standing there holding the mic and controlling the conversation and asking questions. You don't see that a lot anymore, and it's very important. So I get what you're saying. Have you been able to make it up to SICW yet?
No, I have not. I like I said, I'm in foster care, so we used to get 1 week off a month. Now we get 28 days off a year. So that kind of changed the dynamics of how often we could get away. So.
Well, because that in May that big fan fest is coming up. I'm sure.
I have something in the works. I won't be able to work. I won't be there for May.
Okay.
But I'm trying to work things out and convince my wife to come to Vegas in August for CAC, the California Alley Club.
Good choice.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. So I heard that you been on the sidelines rehabbing from an injury. Could you share about what's going on with the injury and how that's going, when we should see you back?
Yeah, the muscles in my back got so inflamed that it was pinching nerves up my neck, and it was causing like tingling and stuff. It was a fear that it was something much worse, but luckily it wasn't. I got that cleared up. The other thing that happened too, the lesser known one that I kept really quiet, was almost a year ago now. I was in my house. I was going to step down to my basement. I stepped down the landing, felt a pop in my calf. I thought it was just like a cramp or something. I messed your Achilles tendon. So I'm reaching, but the Achilles tendon, it goes pretty far up into your calf. I had pulled my Achilles up into my calf, and I could barely put weight on it. I had to do a lot of rehab and stuff for it. And stretching and all that stuff. So it's good as gold now. So my injuries have really started clearing up. So in-ring return is hopefully imminent.
So do you have your sights on any one particular or any tag team in particular that they should be looking out for the return of Mauler McDarby?
Well, not just Mauler McDarby, but Mauler McDarby and Sean Santel, the professionals. Anybody who's got the tag belts, I don't care who you are. You sleep with one eye open. You better keep looking over your shoulder. Please, by all means, get very, very, very comfortable in your spot and get very comfortable with those tag titles, because I don't care. We don't care who you are. We'll take them, and we don't care. We'll take them by any means necessary. Now, as far as wrestling anybody or going up against anybody, the top guns of Brandon Beretta and Joe, I cannot pronounce his last name. I apologize. I don't want to butcher it. But the top guns, Brandon, I had a mark right there. I haven't forgot where Brandon hit me with that cast. So once we come back, if they have the tag titles, or if we get the tag titles, if they get in the way, bring it on. That is one that I look forward to. You got me once, you ain't gonna get me again, and I'm ready for you. I got you this time. So, and payback is you know what. So I'll leave it at that.
So I got this Jack Prater. You're pretty familiar with him.
Oh, Jake Prater, yes.
Jake Prater. He sent me this statement. He said I could quote him with this, and I thought it was pretty cool. So, McDarby, one of the best heels around the area, and also one of the most helpful and insightful vets around the area. His advice has helped tremendously. He's an all-around class act, and more people should seek him for advice when they can. I mean, damn. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, very impressive, very humbling. Thank you, Jake. That's Truly, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
So can you talk about this training? So you and your partner Sean Soto used to own your own promotion. You talk about your own promotion that you used to own?
I used to do this is a long time ago, but I used to do some booking and did a promotion, MECW in Wood River, Illinois, Metro East Championship Wrestling. Handled a lot of booking there. And what I did was, out of respect for the St. Louis area and the talent, because I had gone on the road so much and I made so many connections and I made so many contacts, somebody said to me, "Well, why don't you book your own thing?" Which sounds good on paper. In execution, it's a little difficult, but I called in my contacts and favors and stuff like that, and anybody that was in Chicago, Iowa, where else did I pull from? Detroit, all those guys and all those in those areas and others, I'm sure. I pulled in talent that you couldn't see here in St. Louis, and out of respect for I almost said territory, but it is a territory. But out of respect for the area and the territory, I pulled talent from all these different locations, and I started booking shows. And I try to do it on the far end of the spectrum of what the St. Louis area is, and I enjoyed the process of booking. I love that process, what I believe they call the creative now process. I enjoy that. I like helping guys and figuring things out and trying things and booking stuff. Promoting is not my thing. I did not enjoy that. I hated every minute of it because it is 24/7 grind. And the amount of time, which I want to say, I'm just going to throw out a number. I want to say like 7 years, 6 years, 7 years. The whole time I did it, I did not have one day off. So
Pete Rosin says SICW is waiting for your big return, a true professional in every sense of the word. See what I did there. There
I appreciate that, Luck.
There you go.
It.
So I'm going to name drop.
Okay.
Tell me what you think of Curtis Wildy.
Curtis Wild. Now Curtis, him and I, we don't get along in the ring. But the one thing I had to hand to Curtis, he is, I'm going to abbreviate this because keep it clean. He's one tough SOB. We were wrestling a match, live tape for TV. And I hit him so hard that I knocked his tooth out and it stuck right there. He didn't flinch. He didn't bat an eye. He just came back after me. That is one I have to hand. That is one tough individual. I hit him with everything I had, and I knocked that tooth out. I thought that was going to be the thing that got me the W. He got mad and he came right back after me, and that was a fight. Like we wound up, like we were fighting. It wound up tumbling over the top, and him and I, fighting to the back. So the match got thrown out. But that Curtis Wild, for toughness, I have to give him. I have to give him his props. I don't have to like him, but I got to respect his toughness. That's one person you don't want to underestimate.
So Pete wants to go, what do you think about Lucky P. Larson, Esquire, manager of the Stars?
Boss is one of the best people I know. Keeps us paid and in the shade. What can I say? He's always got a plan. He knows, and we're all on the same page. If plan A don't work, we got a plan B. If plan B don't work, we got plan C. If plan C don't work, he's got the briefcase. It's all going to get taken care of. Don't worry about it.
All right. Sounds like Espinoza and his goons, right?
Hey, I got a lashback for Stephen E. Stephen E. That's with minus Lucky P. Larson, Esquire. If we don't put him in the mix, Stephen E. That's a formidable manager. If I didn't have Lucky P. Larson on my side, my next choice would be Stephen E. That's that dude. He's been around. He knows his stuff. He's he's been through it all. I think he's even, he's crossed paths with Skandar Akbar.
Yeah. So he was on last week, man. We had a lot of fun with his interview. So
yes, Steven, that's a great guy.
Even though Attila lost in the cage this last week, so I mean I don't want to rub salt where it's in the wounds of if he's still watching, but so
hey, you can win a war, doesn't mean you won the battle.
That's right. So there's a match on February 9th between the Top Guns and LA Hustlers. You have your eyes on that one? Paying close attention to that?
Oh, of course. Tag titles are involved. You always keep an eye on that.
There you go. So you touched briefly on how important the fans are to you, and I appreciate that. So, is there any funny moments that you had with a fan ringside?
Funny moment, no. But there was a couple of times we had to move quickly to get to the locker room.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
That's right.
Yeah, I can't say funny, but serious, yeah.
And I want to come to the close with, I thought this is pretty cool. And then I have a few questions to close the show, but I want to take this. Big Texan says this about you. When I came back to wrestling via Bobby D, Mauler was one of the wrestlers that helped finish my training and start Bobby's. I can't say enough good things about him, even though he has chosen the dark side when it comes to wrestling. His last match, Gary Jackson and I took the SICW straps away from him and his partner. What is your response to the words that Big Texan just said?
Thank you. That's very, I keep using the word humbling, but I truly appreciate it. Texan, the fact that he feels that I had made an impact on him like that, I truly appreciate it. He would have been, in my opinion, he would have been just fine without whatever advice I gave him or helping him out. I can't say thank you enough. But he's one of those Big Texans. He's a special person. He's one of those people that I think he would have been just fine, without me. But that's very kind and very humbling, and I can't say thank you enough.
Yeah, I've learned this through the last probably years since I've been covering SICW. You guys are a very, very close knit group. You love each other. You hate each other. You put on a great show. You are surrounded by legends. I hear about the CAC. I hear about the Fans Fest. I hear about Bruiser Brody's Battle Royal. And you guys put on such great stuff, and you got to be part of that is just awesome. And I call SICW family. You guys are great people. So tell us where Mauler McDarby is going in the future. Are you going to stay just at SSCW? Do you see you going out somewhere else? What's the big goal?
When the time's right, and my tag partner and I, when we come back, obviously we have more matches behind us than we do in front of us. So this next run is, in all transparency, is potentially we're going to treat it like it's the last one. I'll put it that way, because it could potentially be the last one. We have some bucket list items that we want to check off. And is it okay if I share? Can I share one?
Absolutely, please.
One of the big things that Sean and I want to do, and we don't care where it's at. If it's at a spot show, we don't care. If it's at SIC, one of the biggest SICW's biggest shows, doesn't matter. But before we're done, one of our big things is we want to have a 6-man tag, Attila Khan and the Professionals versus whoever. To get another run and shot at the SICW tag titles would be great. To do a 6-man tag with Kowalski in the professionals against whoever, it doesn't matter. And then beyond that, my family is a very top priority for me now because I've been doing this so long, and obviously there's more time behind me than ahead of me, and I don't want to miss out on things. But as long as it does not interfere with our SICW bookings, our calendar is open. We'd like to go up to Detroit one more time and do something. We'd like to go out to 3XW in Iowa and do something over there. We'd like to go to Oregon and it's Lima, Ohio. For Tom, we did that once before. We'd like to do it again. So before this is over, we have some things we want to do, and our calendar's open as long as it doesn't interfere with SICW, because that's our main priority. That's our home base. That's our home territory. That's, and also I shouldn't leave out Chicago. If we can go do Chicago again one more time, that'd be great too.
Awesome. Man, it's been a pleasure, my guy, talking to you and hear your stories and hearing the history behind you and what knowledge you have. Great knowledge. I am so excited to hopefully meet you guys sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank Herb Simmons for allowing me or giving me permission or opening the gates of all his talent to me. It's been a pleasure. I go away so full of like, oh my God, stuff that it's stuff that I didn't even know about, and you guys are amazing people. I'm thankful that I'm part of that. I'm thankful you guys you like the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. So I'll let you close the show. If is there fire shots need to be fired, tell everybody where they can find you, your social media. Close the show. I'll play some the closeout music, and don't go anywhere. I want to chat with you real quick.
Okay. Hey, anybody should be watching out. Anybody's got the SICW tag team titles. Like I said, keep looking over your shoulder because we don't care who it is. We're coming for them. As far as social goes, you can find me on Facebook, Mauler McDarby, and that'll link it to my Instagram and my Twitter. Please, anybody that sees the Mauler McDarby, follow or friend request, whatever. It always helps, so I appreciate that. And any fans that want to contact me can contact me, or anybody wants to talk wrestling and talk wrestling. And I appreciate your time having me on here. Being given the recommendation from Herb Simmons for you to reach out to me, huge honor and pleasure. Anytime you want to, I'm cool with, don't get me wrong. I love talking about me, that's cool. But if you ever you want to come back on and just talk, old school wrestling, any particular, genre or match or person, I'm always down to chit chat. I love talking about old wrestling. So that's where I'm at.
All right. There's Huge Pop Wrestling fans. We will get him back on. We will talk about another day on old school wrestling and history of wrestling. That sounds like a fun time. I would love, but I guess before I leave, were you an NWO fan?
NWO?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But I can talk about it, but no.
Okay. Well, that's one of my favorite things. I love Sting. Sting's my favorite guy. I hate the fact that they're teasing his last match might be against the Young Bucks with Darby Allin. I don't want that. I think that's not a good choice. But it is what it is. But thank you again, Mr. McDarby, for being on the show. I love you guys. It's Huge Pop Wrestling. We are out. Thank you.
All my dogs, make some noise up in this house. Who
is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground, cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground, cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out.
Fight with Adrian Whisper is like a fight with the devil, because when he's dealing with you, you cannot get on this level.
Fight with Adrian Whisper's like a fight with a king. It's like a fight with an army, they got the tanks and everything.
He's leaving bruises and stitches, possibly leaving you crippled, cause when he sets up the table and sends you straight through the middle.
6 sadistic free, beat that ass with a light bulb. Leave a piece of glass embedded in the back of your skull. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you better hit the ground, cause when your body hits the canvas, then your ass is knocked out. Who is in the house? Who is in the house? It's the gangster of destruction, so you know what's going down. And when the drive-by's coming, then you